You see, something is going to happen. Something wonderful.
My God, it's full of stars.
Hey everyone, welcome to the NY Patriot Show. Tonight I got a bunch of people with me. Tonight I am lucky enough to have my partner in crime and my co-host, Teresa. What is up, Teresa? You want to let everybody know who you are and where they can find your work as well?
Sure. Well, thanks for having me. Like you said, my name is Teresa. And you can also find me on the Spiritual Gangsters podcast, which we're live streaming from tonight because you have a strike on YouTube, so you can't, which sucks. But yeah, people can find me on, all the major podcast platforms, YouTube, Rumble, and Instagram and Twitter.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And their links are in the bottom as well. And tonight I'm also blessed with the presence of the magician himself, Lee. What is going on, Lee? How are you? Would you like to let everybody know what your deal is, your show, and all that stuff?
Sure. Yeah, I'm based in the UK, so it's about 3:15 at the moment. So please bear with me if I look a little bit sleepy. But it is the witching hour, so something interesting may happen in real time. So yeah, I'm from the Inner Guardians. You can catch me at innerguardians.com. I've got a YouTube channel called Inner Guardians. I believe it's the only one that has that name, similar to that. So check me out there. The best way to contact me is on my website, innerguardians.com.
Yes, thank you very much. And I'm pretty sure I have your links in the bottom as well, your website and your YouTube. And then tonight, for the guests that we have on, we got Nate and Paranoid American Thomas from Reality Czars. Nate, maybe you want to go first and say what's up, plug the show, and Paranoid, you could, do whatever. Plug your stuff.
Yeah, sure, man. Thank you for having us on.
Of course.
I'm Nate from the Reality Czars. Our show is pretty fucking cool. We just have fun. We have different guests on almost every time. We don't really have a set agenda. We just kind of have fun and explore different ideas. One day we might be talking about like Bigfoot dong or something. We might be talking about politics. We might be talking about ghosts. That's, I think, what we're talking about tonight. We just like to have a good time.
Gotcha. All right. So you said the anomaly for the ghost hunting stuff, correct?
Yeah, anomaly hunters.
All right. Because you were breaking up on my
And
end.
Thomas.
Yeah, and he's glitching out a little bit, but I co-host Reality Czars with Nate. We use his channel to just blow it up and talk about all the stuff that would, get anyone else taken down. So that's awesome. And like he said, we usually don't have an agenda. So the last time we had like a big guest on, and we just talked about like chef sort of lifestyle and like crazy things that go on in the kitchen instead of going right for the conspiracy talk. Like, we tie it into everything, because that's what we live and breathe. So, and then speaking of live and breathing conspiracies, you also know me as Paranoid American. So I'm holding up my little pamphlet here, paranoidamerican.com. I got comics and artwork. This is my MK Ultra comic that breaks down the whole history of MK Ultra from paperclip and all the way through the end. And yeah, it's like you were just laughing about, it's in the format of a chick track. But man, it's the perfect format to kind of deliver these hard-hitting, information that sounds crazy, but it's all true. And you can check those out at, paranoidamerican.com and at Paranoid American on Instagram. And I've been getting hard into like AI stuff recently. So I made the first Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell AI models. So now people can generate their own versions of them. So yeah, if you like to see some cutting edge, hardcore conspiracy stuff, check me out.
That's awesome. And I'm pretty sure I have your links in the bottom as well. Thank you all for joining me tonight. I was looking forward to this episode. It is, I guess like you said, it's going to be based on ghosts and paranormal. I guess I'd like to ask really, what's everybody's kind of opinion on like what that even means to them? Real quick, not too crazy. Maybe we'll start with you, Teresa, and then Nate, Thomas, and then Lee.
The meaning of paranormal?
Yeah, or like your ghosts and all that stuff. Like, what is your whole thought? Like, what's that mean to you when you think about that stuff?
You know what? So it's funny because paranormal stuff is not really like my main wheelhouse, as you know, which is I think what kind of why you wanted me on, because it's like it's not like my forte by any means. So I'm a learner here today mostly, but I think my impression is that it's just, energies possibly from other dimensions trapped between realms. I'm not really sure. I am open to interpretation, but I think it has something to do with energetic wise, most likely.
Very well said. Thank you.
Frequency, magnetism.
I mean, I'm pretty sure all of it's like up in the air. Who the fuck really knows?
Literally up in the air. Yeah.
All right, and you, Nate?
Well, I was gonna say we're all learners here because I'm kind of on the same wavelength as you are. I don't know what the fuck it is. I am a skeptic as far as like, Ben, I tell you, if we die, this is like the cheesy thing. Everybody fucking says that we are like an eternal being inside of a meat suit, but it's true. I think we are an eternal, immortal being inside of a meat suit. And I kind of think that we go someplace better than this when we fucking die, hopefully. And that we're not just floating around here and just like fucking off. So I kind of think that probably some sort of low level entity, low energy, low vibration type of beings that just kind of like fuck around. And I think that we pick up on them, and it's really fucking fascinating. I mean, we can kind of dig into that later, how I think that we sort of create these fucking beings with our intentions and with our energy and like with our focus. Like if we're really focused on like my grandma just died, and then we are really focused on that, like this being I think will come and take that spot. It'll come and like try to be that for you and try to absorb that kind. It's like attracted to your fucking energy that you're giving it. You're kind of giving it that. But I don't know what the fuck they are, dude. I'm on this whole fucking thing where I think that this whole paranormal thing is everything as far as like is people that are experiencing ghosts. I think it's the same thing that you're experiencing when you're talking to your fucking archangel. I think that it's the same paranormal thing that you're talking to. If you're talking to a demon, if you think you're talking to God, I think that that you have your own bias, your own sort of cultural lens that you use to see these entities. And so you kind of see what you want to fucking see. And you kind of make it as like scary or as meaningful or as, whatever it is to you.
That's interesting
sort of
that you say that.
Paranormal.
Not to interrupt you, but like that even kind of goes with like sometimes with NDEs. Depending on what type of religion that person had, it always seems to maybe dictate a little bit of what they thought their NDE was. And I believe that's already because your brain doesn't know what just happened. Well, or I don't know, maybe it does. But it tries to tell you in a fucked up way going through whatever files you have in your brain to try to put together that situation. So
yeah,
I get what you're saying with that. Sorry to interrupt you, but you can keep going.
No worries, dude. Thomas, I know you got some ideas too. What do you...
I usually feel like the biggest skeptic in the room by far. Like, if anything, I started as much of an atheist as you could start, and then maybe started sliding towards agnostic. Like, maybe we just can't know. And then maybe someone could convince me that somebody knows, So I'm like, whatever comes like right after agnostic, but isn't quite agnostic. I think I'm like right in that area. So, I mean, I'm open-minded, but I'm also will admit that I'm not as open-minded as a lot of other people when it comes to woo-woo and ghosts and paranormal.
You're going to be critical.
99% of the time, I think that you're just making it up. You're seeing something, and I don't think that it invalidates it. But I think that you're working through something personally. You know what I mean? I think that
Dude,
these
it's those shared experiences, though. Like
it's the shared experiences, yeah.
That kind of that's what, because I'm fucking skeptical about this shit too. But like, if I'm standing there with my buddy Ben and we are experiencing the same exact fucking thing, I don't know, dude. I don't know.
Maybe, man.
I guess.
But honestly, I'm open enough to it that I've been wrong on so many things that I thought I was so right on that I'd be an idiot to just think that I've got some kind of answer. But yeah, I'm usually in the corner just thinking like, no, that's bullshit, and that's bullshit.
I know that I don't know. Yeah.
Very nice. Well said, Thomas. And Lee.
Okay. Well, I'll preface it by saying that I'm a direct realist. So I'm very much a nuts and bolts guy. I'm an engineer by trade. So I'm not into the woo-woo stuff. But that being said, and I'll put a big but in that place, I think we're living in some kind of layered reality. I think there's a local reality. I think there's also a larger reality. And then there's something like an interface in between. So there's kind of like our limited organs of perception. And there's kind of an obvious bias that we have. And we're able to control what we see and what we don't see, or what we choose to believe. But I think there is a larger reality out there where you could say it's like a field of potential or possibilities. So maybe anything is possible. And it's just a case of what can filter through. And I do think that there are veils. And I think there's also levels or degrees in terms of our awareness and consciousness. So, for instance, you could be at a certain frequency or resonance or vibration, whatever way you want to conceptualize it. And so you'll only see certain things. But then when you go to, say, a higher frequency or more, how do you say, like a more refined level of consciousness, then you may be able to see things through the veil or through the layers of perception or this reality. And just to add to that, I do think that humans have gone through some kind of evolution and devolution or involution simultaneously. So I don't think humans today are the same as they were many, many years ago. And this is very much in alignment with the teachings of, say, Rudolf Steiner or Mr. Gurdjieff, who are some of the esoteric masters. They would actually describe that many, many years ago, possibly 100, 200, 300 years ago even, that humans, because of, you could say, more of the purity of their ability to perceive, reality was way more fluid than it is today, as we're living in some kind of material construct or matrix. So as time goes on and the organs of perception sort of calcified, things become more material, less ethereal, less fluid. And some people, through training or just by maybe some kind of karmic luck or chance or some kind of process, their consciousness is able to see this kind of more fluid reality. And this would account for certain anomalies. Because I think, for instance, you could have 3 people in the same room and one person would see one thing, another person could see something else, and the third person would see a completely different reality. And this is always verified and backed up. The police will confirm this. So if there's a bank robbery and you've got 12 witnesses, they'll all say they saw something different. Even the color of the car, the getaway car, they'll all come up with something different. And I think that's because everybody has a particular filter in terms of their perceptions. And so if you kind of extend that out, because that would be a direct realist example, but if you extend that out in terms of people having the potential to see different versions of a reality, that could also factor in why some people see ghosts and paranormal, and some people probably never will.
You know, that makes me think of a kind of a question maybe ask you guys. Do you think maybe the equipment that people sometimes use is almost like kind of like a hack, where it's like that can't be like EMF or like thermal, like all this technology that they're using, like is that kind of like getting around, like if maybe people were, I hate to say like dumbed down, but like aren't as aware, like what you were saying, does that technology kind of bypass that situation, and that's why a lot of that stuff can be used to, I guess, measure paranormal activity? You understand what I was getting at, Lee, kind of, with what you were saying? Like, you think maybe that technology is like to get around that as well?
In terms of, yeah, I think it has an influence, and I think it can affect the same way things like ayahuasca or this, plant medicine that you can take to affect your consciousness and psyche. And this is where, so for instance, if one person sees something, but the other person doesn't, then you could say it's a kind of subjective experience. Whereas if they both see it simultaneously, then it's no longer like a hallucination. But I think, going back to what you're saying with regards to technology, I do think that can influence it in both directions. And I think there is a lot of experimentation taking place in terms of these frequencies, electromagnetic frequencies, and there's a lot of uncertainty, a lot of unknowns, and also I think this would account possibly why there may be some kind of glitches in reality, and this would extend to like Mandela effect and various other subjects. But I do think that there is an effect of technology in terms of frequencies. Now, whether it makes it more fluid or more solid, I think it could be both directions.
I have even thought myself, and actually, I really want to know Nate and Thomas's opinion on this, since you guys are the one kind of ghost hunting. And Lee's too, because if you've watched enough ghost shows, maybe you've picked up on the same thing I've seen. There is some technology that I actually think is used that is actually going to feed. It's almost feeding energy to that area, I think. You know, those boxes that actually are supposed to, the ghost boxes, even though you're supposed to be picking something up, I actually think if there's something there, almost maybe a ley line, an energy field, if there's something there, I do think that sound actually constantly being shot out of that machine can actually feed as energy to create something going on. As crazy as that sounds, I do think some of this stuff could actually aid to paranormal stuff.
So I also think it's your intention, dude. If you're there, me and my buddies, we're a couple of dorks, and we're out there with our fucking... We're there trying to find those motherfucking ghosts. You know what I mean? And we have our intention set. We even say a little thing beforehand. We're like, okay, we're here. If there's any spirits here, we're looking here to communicate. I think all of that feeds into it. If you're there as a collective, we're all there for one mission. Totally we're all there looking for this thing. It's one of those things where I almost think we're playing with egregores. You know, I almost think that we're playing with that's where I get with these little low-level spirits that I think are there. It's you almost, because we've a few folks that we've had on to interviews for this, and Chad, shout out to Chaz.
Chaz of the Dead.
We had a conversation about these dorks that got together. Yeah, good dude. We was talking about these dorks. They were all sitting together. They were trying to make, connect with a spirit, right? And so they basically played D&D. They made this character up. They gave him characteristics and all this different shit. And all of a sudden, then it started interacting with him. And they had a full-on fucking poltergeist. And this thing was taking the form of the character that they made him. You know, and it took a while, and then they couldn't get it to stop. They created a full-on fucking poltergeist. I think that that's where I say something if you're focusing on grandma, you have her fucking diary there, you have her old clothes, you know what I mean, her old Bible, and you're sitting there and you're focused on fucking your dead grandma. All of a sudden you see her fucking favorite flower out the window. You see something, and all of a sudden you start thinking that hey, this is grandma trying to communicate with me. And I think you literally create that connection. And this weird little low-level fucking entity is hey, I could be grandma for a while. I could feed off this energy. You're putting so much energy out there. I'm so fucking devastated. I'm so sad. I want to see my grandmother. And then all of a sudden, you're giving this oh my God, grandma's here. And then you're you know what I mean? I don't know. There's something to that. And so I think that like you're saying with those ghost tools and stuff, it's in the same way where you cannot have a an experiment that isn't affected by things. It's just by doing the experiment, you affect things and you fuck with things. It's because you have intention in there and you're trying to make something happen. So I think that we are pretty fucking powerful, and I think that we perhaps make some of this shit happen.
And honestly, my beliefs are almost identical, except I would take all of that happening outside and put it inside, all of those intentions. So there is no low-level entity. There's no low-level entity. It's happening inside your head. Maybe the low-level entity is in your head. It's all in your almost head. Like Lee was saying, Lee was talking about ayahuasca almost as an analog to technology, and I think that's a great way to put it, because even if you're going into a haunted Masonic temple with a ghost box and you're going to be tuning radio, you're almost implying that the ghost is going to like fuck with your technology and like, all right, let me climb into this asshole's radio and, you know, figure out how this shit works. But I kind of look at it the same way that if you were doing an ayahuasca retreat, the concept of set and setting, right? Like fasting beforehand, getting yourself into the right mental space. If you're going to take a trip, if you're going to take, you know, 2 or 3 tabs of acid and just like blow the weekend, but the 2 days leading up to it, you're just thinking about grandma and how much you love grandma and how much I miss grandma. Of course, when you take those 3 tabs, you're going to be seeing grandma everywhere. But I don't think that
she's going to be knitting you a new sweater.
It's like your mood is so important. Like if I'm in a shit ass mood and then I eat a bunch of mushrooms, that's definitely going to affect everything.
Yeah. I wouldn't suggest
and I just think you can extrapolate that to like all fields.
Yeah. Well, a lot of the technology, even technology that we don't associate with anything to do with the spiritual world, you will find if you look historically, pretty much all of the communication technology was actually part of an experiment to contact the dead or spirits, or to disprove them, to debunk. Even if you take modern day hypnosis, that was born out of debunking mesmerism. And then they realized there actually is a thing called the placebo effect. The placebo effect is a reality. So by trying to debunk one thing, they actually realized that there is something else that is way more powerful, way more real.
And Mesmer was onto something. He just called it the wrong name at the time. He called it animal magnetism, and he described it as working a little bit different than I guess we describe how hypnosis works. But it's not like mesmerism was always, you know, false. I think that they just didn't understand it in the same way.
Yeah, but if you look at the television, I mean, that was born out of trying to communicate with the dead or to debunk it.
The telephone too. Alexander Graham Bell strongly believed that there were spirits traveling through the wires, not the spirits were the ones that were communicating from your voice to the other end. He was a heavy spiritualist.
Yeah, I would actually almost agree that might be possible, actually.
Kind of like AI right now.
Yeah, or, well, if electricity really is, if everything comes down to electricity, I get that.
Well, yeah, and now you mentioned electricity, I was just about to say, for all of those people that debunk anything to do with the spiritual world, explain to me how electricity works. So even the signal to your smartphone, can somebody explain to me exactly how that works? We're actually kind of talking about spiritual technology, yeah? You could say spiritual science in some ways. It's woo-woo.
You know, I do. Lee, I want to ask you a question, and then we'll move on to their story. Just because you're,
sure.
You know, I consider you like a magician in your own way. And this is kind of like, you know, I know I had told Nate, and maybe I don't know if I told Thomas. I think Teresa knows. And Lee, that I was kind of like looking eventually getting into, you know, doing the same thing, paranormal research, and I was going to start. You know, I already got an EMF, and I'm just getting stuff one thing at a time. And I do think it's possible, like you were saying before, like your intentions. Part of the way I want to kind of, I guess, ghost hunt is that not all the time, maybe if I'm going to a place that I do believe might be in the right spot for the right reason, I do have thought of trying to go into a deep meditation prior, pushing myself maybe to where I get like a little bit of a charge, you know, go pretty deep and then come back. And when I go do my ghost hunt, if I'm using all this equipment that I think is actually feeding vibrations into the area that I'm in and then using my intent, could I actually get paranormal effects myself? May not be exactly what I'm trying to do. Maybe it'll be a little bit off, you know, or I'm thinking that that's actually possible. And I wanted to try that. Do you think I'm crazy? Or do you think that's possible, Lee?
Well, I would say that it's a must. I would say it's about upgrading your organs of perception. So we're talking like subjective, objective. So we need to have the organs of perception to even perceive. I personally think, and it's just my opinion, that we're completely surrounded by spiritual beings and you could say, kind of creatures. So if you look at all of the creatures, like the organic creatures in this realm, I think we have equal, if not more, non-physical beings and entities surrounding us all of the time. Now, whether some make themselves known or they can be seen is another story. But I think it has to start with being subjective. You need to, you could say, activate your organs of perception. But be careful what you wish for.
That's true too. All right, thank you. I just wanted to ask another magician the idea that I had going on. So, all right, let's get to these guys. So, all right, why don't you just start us off and tell us how you even got to investigating this place and where it was?
All right, so this little spot is in Forest Grove, Oregon. It's like northwest, probably about 45 minutes from Portland, pretty far west. And this is an old fucking creepy building. And I wish I had done some more research on it so I could give you solid fucking answers. But they call it the Grand Lodge. It was an old Masonic Grand Lodge. Then it was like an orphanage for like a long fucking time. And then it was a Masonic old folks home. And so there's a lot of creepy stories. Obviously, a lot of old Masons died there because that's what people do. They go to old folks' homes to do is they go there to die. And it just has this fucking feel to it, dude. And what's interesting is this spot bought it. So it's called McMenamins. McMenamins buys old historic buildings and kind of turns them into like adult playgrounds. So there's like a whiskey and cigar bar like inside of the old like janitor's closet. There's weird little like fun things in the spot.
What was the name of this company, if you don't mind me asking? I'm sorry.
McMenamins.
Okay.
And dude, I mean, if you guys can check out our Instagram, you can see there. I think we posted a bunch of photos up there. There's a ton of Masonic, like weird fucking creepy art all over this place. It has like symbology everywhere. It's a fascinating spot. It's a lot of fun, dude. And they make a pretty good burger and they make good beer there. So it's a fun spot to go. But it just has this like weird vibe to it. And it's also, they turn it into a hotel. So you can stay the night there. I think we'll probably do that again at some point. We'll probably try to like stay the whole night and do the whole thing. And it's just a fucking creepy place. And inside of that building, they have a book this big that's full of any time that anyone that has stayed there or anybody that's visited there had an encounter with a ghost. You go up there and you fucking write your encounter down. They have this big book because there's so fucking many. There's like 25 years of ghost stories in this giant fucking book. And it's just fucking nuts, dude. So it's a really cool spot. I don't discourage anybody from going there. In fact, you should go there if you're in like the Portland metro area. Check out McMenamins. There's a ton of them actually, all over the Portland area, up in Seattle too, and all over Oregon. Like there's like the one that we want to go check out was this old like pioneer whorehouse, and it was built in like the 18 like fucking 50s or some shit. I don't know. It's pretty fucking wild.
They already really sold him a whorehouse. He was like, yeah, whatever the year was, that's fine.
Yeah, dude, I want to go fucking check out the old whorehouse. Maybe I'll get my dick sucked by a demon. I don't know.
Yeah, doesn't that happen in Ghostbusters actually?
Yeah, I think so, right?
I think that's like one of those parts that, like, as kids, we didn't actually understand what happened, but when we watch it 10 years later, you're like, yo, that guy just got head from a ghost.
Yeah, man, it's wild. It's wild. It's a great fucking spot. And so we went there with our limited equipment and our limited knowledge, and we just went there to fucking find some ghosts, dude. And I went in there skeptical as hell, and it freaked me the fuck out. We were literally talking to some intelligent being that was communicating with us, that was answering questions, it was fucking freaky. And we had to do like kind of like a cleansing ritual before we left because I didn't want to bring anything home with me.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, it creeped me the fuck out.
It's like washing your feet off when you get home from the beach or something, right? Or before you get in the car.
You gotta get all the sand.
Yeah, you gotta get track it home in the car. And I'm separated from Nate. I'm a Florida boy, but I've been on a number of ghost hunts. A lot in San Antonio, which is supposed to be one of the haunted cities in the world. because of the Alamo, basically. Also at Jekyll Island, which was the site of some of the very last slave ships that came to the United States. So that's supposed to be extremely haunted. And then a whole bunch of number of other ones too. But I've also been looking into making a ghost box from scratch using like a little Arduino microcontroller and a little FM receiver, and just trying to understand how they work and you know, make something maybe it's a little bit customized.
Yo, wow. That'd be pretty badass if you started making your own shit. I don't,
it's
you know,
not
I
hard.
have.
I mean, it's like $13. You can make one.
Yeah, you know, I have noticed that, like, kind of like in the ghost hunting community, there are like, it's not uncommon to actually see people building their own shit.
Well, it's because
I could
if you
understand
look at the
that
pre-made
too.
ones, they start at like 200, 300, 400. You know what I mean?
Well,
and
plus
if you
if
look at the components, you can make it for $20.
I was gonna say, if you make it and you know you're like, I guess doing it right, at least you know that it works and it's not just a box with like numbers jumping around that someone sold you. You know, like you actually know what's in there.
Preloaded with ghost noises, right?
Oh no, whatever. Just like, you know, some digital thing that just jumbles around numbers.
I mean, cause the basic premise is with a ghost box, for anyone that's not familiar with it, is it just randomly scans through radio stations and it just plays tiny little blips. And the assumption is that like a ghost or an entity or something can sort of work with the vibrations or the radio waves and craft that into a cohesive message. And then if you can hear an entire coherent message, then it's almost proof in itself that the ghost box is working, because the chance of just hearing a whole bunch of random blips from a bunch of different stations, it seems less probable. You would just hear a bunch of, you know, garbled noise. But if you can put together statements, like Nate said, that, you know, he actually heard something talking to him through the radio, then that it gives a little bit more credit. And if not, it's at least more entertaining than just like waiting for something to knock on the
finishing my
wall.
Sentences. They were finishing my fucking sentences.
What were some of the sentences that they were asking and they were answering you?
So like I'm sitting there talking to the audience, right? And we're like, okay, we're about to go up. We're gonna open this door. This doorway leads to, and it's an attic. And I was like, you fucker. The ghost box was answering and saying shit to me. Like, so it said or I could say attic. God. It's like it was kind of like directing us. It was telling us to go up the fuck out. Because as much as like I'm a skeptic, I'm also like born again Christian. Like my mom taught me to like cast out demons when I was a kid and stuff. So I'm sitting here having like conversations with like, what, a demon? I don't know what this is, so it's freaking me out.
Oh. What other stuff?
I don't. Am I?
No, I think you're caught up now. A little bit of a delay. A little bit of a delay. Okay. Real quick, I wanted to ask, what kind of equipment did you bring there to let people know too?
Okay, so I really wish my partner could have been here because he knows the names of these things.
Okay.
I don't fucking know. We had like a digital voice recorder, and so like you're supposed to talk to the ghost. You're supposed to say, because it's supposed to be able to pick up frequencies that maybe that you can't hear necessarily, and so you can play it back, and it's supposed to like catch a ghost's voice or something if they want to speak to you. And so you have the intention, and you say, okay, I'm now going to start recording. If you have something to say to us, say it to us. I have this device in my right hand, and you just click record, and you let this ghost speak to you if he wants to talk to you or not. So we had one of those. Then we had so there's some professional ghost hunters that have made these apps, and they're free, and you can just use them on your phone. So we have a ghost box on our phone, like a spirit box basically, and this other fucking thing that's like it's the same thing, except that like EMF will trigger this random selection of words, and so it could be like if something happens, like some EMF, whatever, will trigger it, and it could say like robot or dildo or titty or something, right? But so it's just random and silly. But if it starts
pull three of those at once,
and but if it starts like making sense, then it freaks you the fuck out. And it started like answering us and started making sense, and that's what really started freaking us the fuck out. is like when it would start picking a word at random, but all of these random words would fucking make sense or would answer a question that we just asked, you know, and that's when you're like, what the fuck is going on, dude? It really freaks you out.
That's weird. You know, that was making me think of, I don't know why, like, and it's like kind of like completely off, but again, maybe I'm thinking of the sound. Did you ever see those ghost, there's different names, but I think some people call them those like ghost masks, where you cover your eyes and then you put on the headset and it's just blasting white noise into your ears and then you're supposed to sit there. They did it in Hellier, and I think Zach Baggins has done it, I'm sure. You know, those things...
We have some what the fuck, noise canceling headphones that we're going to use next time. So like I can't get any outside stimuli, but I can have this thing, and so they're asking questions, and supposedly this machine that I have my headphones plugged into, this ghost can tell me, or like I guess it's like a spirit box sort of thing. And so I'm putting out answers, but I can't hear you guys. Sort of thing. Yeah, we're going to try that out, dude. That's the fucking interesting thing, because I was telling you before we even started recording, is like, this is kind of caught on in this local, like, Facebook groups that my buddy, like, puts these out on. These, like, a woo-woo ghost hunter stuff. And there's a ton of folks out here in Oregon that have a ton of hauntings, dude, and they want us to go and investigate. And we're like, there's dozens of people that want us to go investigate their properties. And so we're literally, I don't know, we could be the goddamn Ghostbusters.
I would have ordered the jumpsuits already and had the logos on the back at this point, man.
It's going to be a lot of fun, dude. Like, lady has us, we have it scheduled already. I think it's coming up in a couple weeks. She owns it's like an axe throwing range. Like, you know, you just go and throw hatchets, you know, that kind of thing. And I guess this property... it's like a family fun center, but that's like primarily what you do. You go there to throw hatchets and stuff, I guess. But there's like, I don't know. This lady owns this property, and I guess a husband murdered his wife pretty brutally there. And now people are seeing this apparition of this woman. They're seeing her all the fucking time. Like, customers are seeing her, other people that rent from, I guess, on the bigger part of the property. And she is asking people for help. Whatever this ghost is, people are seeing her like nonstop out of their periphery, or they'll see a woman that's kind of translucent, and then she's asking people for help. And so this lady is like, dude, you guys have free range. You guys can come here. We're going to stay 24 hours. We're going to stay overnight. We're going to do it. We're going to do it right. Maybe we're going to help this lady out. I don't know what she needs. Did he kill her with an axe? I don't know. I think he might have shot her or something awful. We'll get the details, I guess. But
now back to the Mason place, the ex-Mason place. I did want to ask you, do you know, like, kind of like, well, first off, like, how big was this place? Like, where was, like, how big of the area? And, like, do you know, like, when you were in the building, do you know, like, where you were when it used to be a Masonic lodge? Like where that room was, you know, at one point?
Dude, I'm not 100% sure. It's fucking big, dude. The property is huge. It's several acres, and it's really beautiful. It's really fucking beautiful. It's old wood, like beautiful fucking building. And I don't know like where they would do their rituals. I don't know, like,
the lodge room would have been an interior room with no windows, most likely.
Interesting. Okay. Interesting. I know that there is so many like ghost sightings there. So a lot of people see this old woman, and I think that's who we were talking to. A lot of people see this little girl, and other people have like consistently have been getting something will grab them by the ankle and try to grab them and pull them. And when they'll have physical marks and bruises on their legs after an encounter with whatever this is. There's some serious fucking weird shit going on there. And I don't know how to explain that. Like, when I guess you could do that with your mind, I guess, if you really believed it. Like, if you could call that like the placebo effect. You thought something grabbed your leg and then you made bruises on your arm or like on your leg. You know, I guess you could do that with your mind. I don't know.
Or you bruised your leg and then blamed it on the ghost.
Yeah. I don't know, dude. It just, I think that maybe when you stay there, you're putting yourself, and especially if you've heard that this place is haunted, I think you're putting yourself in that mindset possibly to start out with. But I mean, some of the stories that I read, because like I just sat there and I read through this book. I just kept reading story after story. A lot of them had no fucking idea that it was supposed to be haunted. They were just like, I have no way of explaining that. They're like, there's a little fucking girl and she was see-through and she said something to me and then I turn around and she's gone. You know, there's just a ton of that shit. I have no goddamn idea. So no, I don't really know what was what in that building. I know where there was supposedly more hauntings than others. So like we went to a specific room where this old woman was seen a lot. So that's where we set up. Yeah, it's weird, man.
Nice.
Can I just ask, like, when you go in there, are you going there because you believe in this stuff, or are you going there to disprove it, or are you neutral?
I'm neutral, dude. Like I have a personal bias. I grew up Christian. I still have like a Christian bias. So for me, it's hard to believe that these spirits are still here. Like that, if it is a ghost per se, I think you either go up or down, you know, or, you know, something, or I'm a weirdo Christian that believes in reincarnation. So I don't even think you go down. I think you just kind of go up and then you kind of recycle.
Food for the moon.
Yeah. I'm a weird one, man. But as far as that goes, I don't know what the fuck it is. So, dude, I'm really open-minded, and I want to know what it is. And so, no, I'm definitely not there to disprove anything, and I'm not there to prove anything. We just went there to, like, let's see what the fuck happens.
Yeah, because I think when we talk about ghosts and things of this nature, we have to kind of ask, like, why? You know, why would they still be here? Is it the location? Do they gravitate to particular venues, residences? And why are they here? And can we also help them move on?
Yeah, man. I mean, I start to feel like when I go to this location, when we go to that axe throwing range, I want to try to help the lady out. Like if she's literally asking for help, if she's actually asking for help, and I don't know exactly what to do. I'm the worst one. I'm the worst person to give this.
You don't have the trap, bro. You don't have the ghost trap. So even if you find it, what are you going to do with it?
Shop vac. I could bring a shop vac. But
I mean, from my experience of anything of this nature, you kind of have to treat it like you would in ordinary life. Like you speak to them as though you would speak to a human. And so as an example, simply telling them that they're dead could be enough for them to move on. Because it depends on how they died and the state of their psyche or emotional world. They're probably kind of lost and confused. That's always been my take on it. That these spirits that hang around is because they're kind of like either dissatisfied or they got some kind of maybe pull or attraction or addiction to a particular place, or there's some kind of trauma that they just can't get over. And maybe they didn't have a kind of natural transition and they just simply need to be told that actually you're dead.
That is a fascinating thing, man. And so for me, there could be several explanations of what's going on. And like you said, I think that there are a lot of spirits, because I've heard that these spirits don't know that they're dead. They literally don't know that they're dead. They're confused. They're kind of like walking around, and it's like the Sixth Sense. They're like, why isn't anybody talking to me? You know, it's this weird type of thing, and they're kind of lonely and kind of like upset, and they kind of get, maybe that's why they kind of get vengeful and angry after a while, whatever these things are. But another aspect to this, which I find fascinating, is like, Thomas, you were there when we were talking to Brandon Thomas, right? And the whole time thing where people would see themselves sometimes. That was, I don't know if that was the conversation we had with Brandon, but he talked about a different case where like this little boy, he walks into his kitchen and he sees this dark gray shadowy figure, and he looks up at it and he freaks the fuck out and runs away. And years later, as like a 16-year-old, he's in the fucking kitchen eating a bowl of cereal, and he sees this little shadowy figure of himself, and he looks at it, and this little thing looks at him and runs the fuck away. And so there's these weird like time fucking things that fuck around, and it's like, I don't know sometimes if you're seeing a fucking ghost, residual energy, if there's a weird little fucking portal opening, weird little fucking, I don't understand time. It's strange, dude. I don't know what this phenomenon is, but it makes more questions than answers.
I'd like to throw out a skepticism to see if you guys can just poke holes in it. So I kind of feel that in the realm of the ghosts and entities and everything, I feel like there would have been a P.T. Barnum that would have emerged at this point. Kind of the plot of the Beetlejuice movie, right? Where the family discovers their house is haunted, and their first instinct is like, yo, we could charge admission. We could get rich because we've got objective proof of ghosts, and think of all the ways we could capitalize on this. And I just feel that with the world, the state it's in, someone would have found a way to capitalize on it. Now that being said, maybe someone did find a way, and maybe like you might say, oh, that's how Hollywood works, or that's how, like any number of different industries might work. Maybe they have capitalized on it, and it's not like a song and dance where P.T. Barnum can put like the freak show on the road and charge admission. It's more like, Chat GPT, like you pay a $15 a month subscription, and maybe that's how it got commoditized. So I'm just wondering, like, is that a logical way of having a skepticism about this particular realm? And is anything that you guys think someone has already, like commercialized this somehow?
Well, wasn't that what the spiritualists used to do in the 1900s? That you'd all like.
But that was like on the road. I mean, like, where's our Elon Musk, P.T. Barnum, Bill Gates version of spiritualists that are on the road?
Well, I mean, there's people making a lot of money on YouTube right now doing this.
Yeah, well, the way I look at it, there's two things. You could actually say, well, we got technology. So that could be a way of, how do we know that this isn't some kind of woo-woo magic? Us communicating right now. If you took this back 200 years, they'd be all freaked out.
I was actually
try and explain to your grandmother, try and explain to your great-grandmother an email or a live chat on WhatsApp. That would freak them out. They'd think that you was some kind of magician or some kind of voodoo priest. And I used to look at the television as a child and think, like, I've always had like an engineering mind, like I want to know how things work. And I used to look at the television and think, what the hell is it? Are these like little people in this box? Are they, what is it? And even today, it's very hard to even describe it or explain it, how it actually works, like how it really works. Yeah, we use words like electricity. We use words like radio frequency. But what is it? The same with magnetism. How does a magnet work?
Well, that's why, even with the
that's
microphone.
That's an ICP song.
Yeah, I was gonna say, someone started breaking out in a rap right now.
Like even kind of with our microphones right now, it's like a magnet sucking our voices into here and shooting it out to everywhere else. Like the TV, like if you think about film, it's just basically like you're using something that's sucking in and capturing that moment, transferring it through a wire into something else, and then shooting it out through light onto another thing in front of your face on the TV. I mean, it's all like kind of like just like bending and capturing light and manipulating it and shooting it back somewhere else.
Yeah. Well, this...
Like maybe that's paranormal and ghostly in itself already.
What I'm about to say doesn't directly answer Thomas's sort of question, but I think we're living in some kind of system where there is evidence for every theory, and it's almost like the algorithms, the parameters are set so that it's almost like everything is almost like is possible, is possible, or maybe not possible, or it's almost like a tipping point. Because, for instance, with UFOs, with ghosts, so people. I think a lot of people have seen ghosts or have experienced ghosts, but they can't prove it. They just don't have that evidence.
And why not? Why do you think out of everyone that's ever seen a ghost, why there hasn't been like definitive, conclusive, ubiquitous proof? Is it just impossible?
It's a very good point, right? And think about it. Everybody now has a camera, has a video recording device in their pocket on their phone, basically. They could take photographs. And yet, there's very few hard, provable images or videos of either apparitions, ghosts, even UFOs and things like that. Now, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that, to be fair. But I think there is some kind of, like I said, algorithm, parameter within this realm that is almost like gaslighting us. You could say there's a cosmic computer that is literally gaslighting humanity, because it's almost like teasing us. Like, we're going to show you a bit, but not everything. And we're going to put you in a situation where you're not going to be able to get your mobile phone. So we're going to show you something, and you're going to fumble around, get your phone, and then it's gone.
So it's like Astral Project Monarch.
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
I mean,
otherwise there would be lots of videos and photos and things.
That's a good question.
I almost think you can't see them. I mean, I almost think it's fucking weird, dude. Like Thomas describes this pretty well, how we can't see certain things. Like, we can only see a very small percentage of, like, not even 1% of like
0.3% of visible spectrum. Yeah.
And so it's very like he says too, it's very easy to trick your fucking eyes into seeing whatever this thing wants you to fucking see. So like I have thought about this before, because like some people have like even described, like I have like listeners and folks that have sent me photos of like full on and experiences with like Sasquatch and things where they cloak, and you could see this apparition of like a humanoid, and it's like, it's fucking kind of fucking funky, man. I'll try to send that photo to you after this. It looks like a fucking cloak thing, and he said that he was looking at it, and it was a fucking Sasquatch, and then it would fucking cloak.
Some Predator shit.
Yeah, it was like some Predator shit, or maybe some, I don't know, CIA kind of technology.
Well, you know what? I just want to toss this in here real quick, because you're talking about cloaking. Toyota is about to probably patent a cloaking device for their car. I don't know what the fuck they're using it for, but you can look this up. Toyota is actually making a cloaking device and trying to patent it for their car. So, I mean, obviously cloaking exists. So
it 100% exists, man. I've seen people make little cute, cheap ones. You can make one. There's YouTube videos how to do it. Like if somebody gets real close to you, they can tell that you look fucking weird. But man, if you're trying to hide in the woods, you can put this little thing up. It's like this distorted plastic, and it kind of you kind of sees through it. You can't fucking tell. You wouldn't spot that. Somebody could, like, I don't know, there could be a fucking Fed in my house right now. I don't know.
You know what I was thinking of when I told you guys earlier that I was looking up hologram patents. I was trying to come up with ideas for a show that I could do myself, and I found that guy who did like the hologram thing, but like the thing was like gigantic to where it was like its intentions were to actually make it seem like if I was standing like somewhere, there could actually be a building right next to me, and I'd have no fucking idea, because it's actually under a tarp or something, like, or under the hologram or whatever. And I was like, I don't know where this came from. It was probably stoned. And I was just like, I wonder if this fits into any of that missing 411. Like, were you doing this stuff in the deep fucking, like, woods somewhere, and some hunter just walked into your tarp or your setup, and then they're like, oh, you're not supposed to be here? Like, I mean, I don't know. Like, if you have these, like, big cloaking areas, like, what would stop somebody from accidentally, like, maybe stumbling upon it by accident?
Fucking interesting things, man. So like as far as like physical shit goes, like with the physical possibility of these things, I love this story. My friend was, it's not a story, this you verifiable, you can look this up, which is, I find fucking fascinating as hell. He brought this up. So Jim Bob, shout out to Jim Bob. If you lay out the missing 411, right, and you're looking at the map where the majority of these people have gone missing, then you overlay a map of the deep, like cave systems, like underground cave systems and things. There's a huge correlation, and then you can throw on Sasquatch sightings, And there's a huge fucking correlation, dude. It's all in these certain fucking areas, man, and it's fascinating as shit. So that kind of tends to make you think like, hey, maybe something physical is going on with Sasquatch. Like our original, you can still find it. Our documentary was The Search for Psychic Sasquatch, because I think he's an interdimensional, like, psychic fucking being. But he could be very well, I guess, flesh and blood, or can become flesh and blood. And I don't know. That's fascinating. But oh man,
not that I actually like get too much
into that.
Not that I get too much into Bigfoot, but I have actually thought, like, if I was to have like lived my whole 45 years and never once groomed, like, you know, I'm Italian, like, how far off could I like look like a
dude? That's the whole theory too, though, dude. Honestly, like, I love that theory too. Where
the homeless Bigfoot theory, bro. It's for real.
Mm-hmm. It's for real. But like, dude, okay, think about this too. Okay, so some Russian scientists were like fucking with some foxes, right? So they took some foxes. There were some nice foxes that were kind of nice. Like maybe they'd eat food out of your hand and kind of lick you, right? And then there was the asshole foxes that were kind of like bite you. They were kind of like shy and offish. And so they're like, I wonder what we could do. Within a couple generations, they bred the nice ones with the nice ones, the assholes with the assholes, and if the asshole got a nice one, they'd put it in this group, and, you know, and vice versa. And within like 2 or 3 generations, yeah, it is eugenics. But like the nice foxes started like getting dopey ears and started getting spots and started like looking like a fucking dog, and these ones over here started looking more like fucking crazy, like wolf kind of crazy looking things. And I'm like, what if they did that with humans, dude? Like, what if like generations of fucking wild men that lived out in the fucking sticks and just like lived like fucking wild men and fucked and did their own thing?
Like
and
the hills have eyes type
dude.
of people.
The hills have eyes sort of thing. Yeah, could you make a fucking Bigfoot? Like, I don't know,
That's
dude.
a
I don't know.
question.
It could be fucking humans, dude. And there is these stories of the European, like, you can look this up, the hairy European giants. And there are these fucking folks, like, there is a whole group of people, like, you can look this up. Look up Harry Mary, I guess you could type in there. But there's pictures of Mother Mary, and she looks like a Sasquatch. And so there's these stories that Mary might have been a fucking Sasquatch, and so is Jesus. I love this stuff, dude.
This one is crazy. I never heard of that before. I looked it up, and it's legit. There's a Harry Mary.
Dude. Yeah. There's like from the like 14th, 15th century, like these artists depicting Mary as a Sasquatch. The only thing that wasn't hairy was her titties. So they had her like titties popping out, and the rest of her was covered in hair. She's kind of hot.
You didn't want Jesus to get a hairball when he was breastfeeding.
Yeah.
I've never heard that one before. So Teresa, she was like,
I was like, whoa. No, in my mind, I'm like, I don't know. I think like Sasquatch and those kind of things, it's like, you know, maybe descendants of the Nephilim or something.
Yeah, you know, Thomas just popped it up in the private chat. You guys can check that out.
Oh man,
it's not obscene. Yeah. It's legit, like paintings from the 1490s and before.
Yeah,
it's actual.
It's a dress. It's not hair.
No. Look up. There's lots of photos of her. Yeah, look at the next one. The next one. There's tons of depictions of her. It's really fascinating. I don't know. I'm not saying that
she's got long locks.
Mother Mary was a Sasquatch, but I kind of want that to be true.
I don't know. I'm looking at that. I wouldn't interpret it that way, but maybe.
Is it less weird to wear a dress made out of hair, though? I mean.
I don't know if it's hair at all. I think it might just be the texture of the dress. The second one is weirder for sure, because it's like her body. It's like a bodysuit.
There's a ton of them though.
Yeah, you got to go down more. Then those.
There's more.
Obvious,
okay, sorry.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't know, man.
So she was wearing like a ghillie suit or something, like sneaking up on people made out of hair.
Oh, it's Mary Magdalene.
Yes.
Oh, it's not.
Yeah, that's Harry Mary. That's what makes it so interesting, is that it's Mary Magdalene of all people.
Yeah, why?
Jesus' girlfriend, essentially.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know. I have to look into that one. It's a new one for me.
He liked them all natural.
I guess, right? Oh my god.
Oh wow! All right.
That's wild.
Oh. So what other stuff? Maybe you probably really don't know, Nate.
Might.
But
Throw 'em
besides,
at me. I might have an opinion on it.
Yeah,
I don't
no,
know
no,
if I have the right answer.
It was gonna go back to the equipment. Like, besides like the recorder, did you guys have like a camera, or was it like iPhone? Like, what did you guys use to like record?
My
like...
buddy has some kind of phone. We did this all on his phone, which is great. And we have like a really nice like little tripod-y kind of like it's a legit. You can shake it around and it's gonna keep your phone, whatever the fuck those are called.
Yeah, no, I actually went out and bought like this nice fancy stand for my phone.
It works great, dude.
Yeah.
Like I think the footage was fucking pretty fantastic. He did a great job.
Nice. Yeah, I didn't think that was actually done. I did check it out a little bit. I actually figured that was done with like a camera. I didn't think that was an iPhone. So it actually the quality looks pretty good.
Yeah, no, he does a fucking fantastic job, dude. Ben is really talented. Shout out to Ben. Yeah.
What would be the holy grail of capturing something for either one of you that has equipment? Like, what would be the holy grail?
Dude, I don't know as far as like equipment. I mean, taking a selfie with fucking Bigfoot or something would be pretty great. Like, I don't know what a holy grail is supposed to look like. As far as a ghost goes, dude, like, how do you ever catch something like that on camera? I don't think that they're meant to be caught on camera.
Poltergeists? Have you had any interaction with poltergeists or moving objects?
Luckily, not yet. Personally, that's when I'm gonna leave the room.
Would that be like almost proof for you then? You think if something like that happened?
I'm the darkest person in our group, and I know minorities get killed in horror movies first, so I'm getting the fuck out of there.
Oh, man.
I've seen something that comes close to that, but I'm still a skeptic on this one. But there's a place in San Antonio called the Haunted Train Tracks, and the story was that a school bus had stalled out on these train tracks, and that a train came and just demolished the entire bus, everyone on it, including the driver. And to this day, all of the streets around that site of impact was called like Little Johnny Street and Little Sally Street and like Billy Avenue. It's really creepy to drive around these streets and taking like a left and a right and just knowing you're turning down the names of dead children from way back when. But what's interesting, and this is kind of goes into like my P.T. Barnum and Beetlejuice capitalism angles, that every Friday and Saturday night there's like a line of 20 to 30 cars of people that are drunk or whatever, and what they do is they park their car and they put it in neutral, like 20 or 30 feet away from where the train tracks are at, and it's supposed to be level, and if you get a level it says that it's level, although if you get a big enough level it'll show you there's a slight decline. But what happens is that you put your car in neutral and it'll be completely stationary, and then just all of a sudden, very gradually, it'll start rolling, and once it gets onto the train tracks it'll completely stop. And it won't move anymore. You got to get back in your car and turn it on and everything. But people would go out there and put baby powder on the back of their trunks and would swear that after the car got pushed down, if you got out, they'd see like little handprints and everything like inside of the like the baby powder. And that was this objective proof that like these little children ghosts were trying to kill anyone that was trying to like park or kind of like entertain themselves by just being out there.
Now, Tom,
man, it's weird with any of this like paranormal, interesting like things. I don't think that you can get like physical fucking proof. It's one of these weird things where like growing up, my mom would take me to these like revival churches and things, and these people would swear that if I sat there and I'd pray hard enough, there'd be gold dust that would appear on my hands.
What?
And, yeah, dude. And then they would swear that like if you had like a cavity, God would fill it in with a diamond and stuff. Like people were coming home with like gold teeth and shit. And my hands would get kind of sweaty, and I'd be like, I kind of think it's kind of gold. So I'd be like sitting there with like a credit card trying to scrape like. Nobody's fucking coming home with gold. You know what I mean? Like I
put gold glitter on like the Bibles, so you open it and then you see gold on your hand.
Yeah. So like, show me. Okay, bust out your tooth. Is there a fucking diamond in there? Like, but nobody ever does that. And if there was, wouldn't everybody be down there? I'd be like, hey Jesus, I need some fucking gold right now. You know. I don't know. I don't think you're gonna catch it on camera. I don't think that you're gonna get the gold flakes on your hands. But it's interesting, and I like it. And I'm not saying that it's not real, because I don't fucking know. It is something fucking weird. People are experiencing something weird. Is it inside them? Maybe. But it's strange when it's like a whole group of like me and my friends, and we're there, and we're all experiencing something fucking weird. Like, I don't know, man. I can't explain it.
Can I put a little twist on everything?
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah. Okay. So part of you could say my business is that I train dogs. I train protection dogs, you know. And maybe about 10 years ago, I rescued this dog that was going to be put to sleep for biting somebody. Anyway, I had the dog for a couple of years. I got really fond of the dog. I was going to rehome it, but I kind of grew attached to the dog. It's a really nice dog. And sometimes when you rescue a dog, they sense that you've rescued them. So they're kind of extra loyal. They're extra obedient. Anyway, I was able to train the dog to quite a high level. And I was able to walk the dog off leash through the city centre, going across the intersections. The dog wasn't fazed by skateboards, scooters, cars, bikes. Really good dog. Anyway, every morning I used to go and get a coffee on the way to the park. So at 9 o'clock in the morning, we had this habit where he would walk off leash, we'd get to the junction, and then we'd go to the central island, and then we'd cross over completely off leash. Anyway, when we're in the central island, he gets up and starts guarding. And I'm thinking, oh, that's a bit weird. It was as though somebody is about to attack us. Yeah, he was a protection dog. So he started guarding. I thought, well, I better put him on the leash because he might bolt into the road. Anyway, put him on the leash. We carried on, went to the cafe. And then on the way back, there was a fire engine, maybe 2 police cars, an ambulance, and a car had gone onto the traffic island exactly where we were standing. So I thought, that's weird. That if we'd have been there, the car would have killed us because it went through the barrier, it completely mounted the island. Anyway, I didn't think too much of it. And then later on in the day, when I got home, I thought to myself, actually, the lady that I rescued the dog from, she said to me, take care of this dog because he'll save your life one day. He saved my life. And I said, oh, okay, what happened? She said, well, I was walking down the road, and she was only about 5'2", maybe 45, 50 kilos maximum. And the dog was 50 kilos. She said that she was walking down the road, and the dog pulled her, dragged her down the road, and then a car mounted the pavement. And I remembered this, and I thought, wow, is there something in this? But the skeptic in me was like, no, it's just a coincidence, it's a coincidence. But it's some damn coincidence, if you think about it. Now,
related to that, there's one thing that definitely puts my skepticism a little bit at bay, and that's the animals that they have at like the old folks home or at like hospitals, right? That'll go and like sit down in front of someone's bed days before they're about to pass, and all of a sudden these particular animals kind of get reputations of knowing when someone's going to go. That freaks me out because there's multiple instances of these where, you know, it's happened and documented.
I'd get so pissed if that dog came and sat by my bed. Like, get the fuck away from me.
You just keep treats, throw them away out to the other person, your neighbor's room.
Here's another one, and some people have tried to debunk this, but I've had dogs most of my life, and in the last at least 15 years, I've had dogs all the time, at least 2 dogs at any given time. And the dogs will always know when the owner is nearby, or the partner, husband, wife, daughter, son is nearby. So they could be maybe 1 mile away, and the dog will go to the window. Now, some people would debunk it by saying, well, it's because it's every 5 o'clock in the evening, 6 o'clock or whatever. So they're doing it by time. Well, I've seen it where it's at random times. I don't even know. And I can call the person and I'll say, you're nearby. And they say, yeah, I'm like half a mile away. How does the dog know? Now, it's got to be through some kind of extrasensory perception.
I've always thought that
Yeah.
about my cat, because my cat will know when one of us are coming home. They'll know. She'll be at the door before one of us even come in through the front door, and she hasn't looked out the window. So I've even noticed, like, how the fuck does my cat know when one of us are coming home before we've even entered this apartment building?
Well, sometimes like as you're turning down the street, they'll already be, at the door waiting for you.
It's fucking weird.
It is weird. It is definitely weird.
Yeah, I think they notice like patterns in the ether, I guess. Or like you're saying, there's an extra sensory perception. I've noticed that too. Like, my dog will know, like, maybe at the top of the street when somebody's coming, he like jumps up and he's just waiting. Right. And same thing with like rescue dogs. I also rescued a senior dog. And it's the same thing, like fiercely loyal in like those moments. And like he knew when I was pregnant. My mom's dog knew when I was pregnant. It's very interesting. Their behavior changes. So it's like, and I never told them, like they can't understand, if I was to say the words, they don't know what that means, but they act differently. The behavior changes. It's very interesting.
Yeah, our cat knew when my wife was pregnant before any of us knew.
I've actually wondered if it's the hair on the animals. As silly as that is.
Like little antennas?
Yeah, because, I mean, look, their whiskers are already known for giving them senses. I mean, that could explain how Bigfoot has been so stealthy. I don't know, but, like, maybe all that hair is like antennas.
Why I wear glasses.
Well, I got another one too, and that's the reports where people will have like a dream about, seeing their grandma, or their, still see someone and find out that, like basically the same time they were having that dream that person had passed away. And that's happened enough times that it warrants a lot more investigation. But again, like, how do you investigate something like that? Like, you would have to have just a perfect control condition, almost like, almost on like a sinister level, in order to reproduce that to prove anything. So a lot of these things happen, and then it's like after the fact, you got to just take someone's word. But that one legit seems, because I mean, I've known people that I would trust that wouldn't just make something up just to have something to talk about, that mentioned those exact sorts of scenarios before.
Yeah, that happened to my mom, actually. That's her exact scenario. Yeah, her grandfather died, and she didn't know when she was a kid, and then he was at the foot of her bed as a ghost that night. She had no idea till the next day. So he just was sitting there smoking like he always did. Right? And she's like, what the heck?
And it seems that there's so little motivation to just make that up to tell you, right? Like that, it would be something that she actually went through. Like that would be a real experience, I would assume.
Yeah, absolutely. She'd have no motivation to lie about it. I do have a question though for you guys and your thoughts on it, because sometimes like I see the paranormal through the lens of like I'm very fascinated by exorcists and like their experiences with like the demonic. So I love that. So I wonder why a lot of these experiences that happen to people with paranormal activity, it tends to be lower level spirits, it seems. It doesn't seem to me to be often like a higher entity being, unless it was some sort of like angelic intercession in somebody's life. Like if that's also happened to my mom, for example. Like she's convinced that like angels saved her life like 2-3 times throughout her life. But anyways, that's a whole other thing. Why is it always like shitty experiences? Why is it always scary? Why is it always almost always negative? You know what I'm saying? Like, are these spirits like trapped in purgatory? If you believe in purgatory, that's an in-between place. So like, is paranormal experience proof of purgatory where the soul is trapped? Right? Or is it only hell? Like spirits that are like cast to hell? Like, you know what I'm saying? Why is it never like heavenly spirits that intercept?
Yeah, where's all the touch by an angel experiences? Right?
Yeah,
well, I want my guardian angel to come
actually.
through.
I actually think the majority of
what you ask.
experiences are positive. Like, like I have communication sometimes with like what I call the Holy Spirit, where like I've had where things absolutely. Okay, I'll try to give you a good I'll try to give you a good example. It's like I knew that I had to move. I had to move out of this particular house in California, and and I don't know how to explain it, but like every time there's like a door that closes, a door opens, and it's exactly what I need when I fucking need it, and it's right when I've been praying about it, where I've been focused on this, and it was like a kick in the pants, where like I was kind of scared to move out of like my small town and go to like a bigger area, and I was like, fuck it, I'm leaving, and I put in my notice at my job, I quit, and it's like this weird thing where it's like, even when I decided I was going to leave, and we were just about to put in our notice at like this apartment that we lived at my entire life, and our rent went from like nothing, and they were about to triple it, and they were like, okay, we're about to triple your fucking rent, and we're like, well, that's funny because we were just about to give you our notice, you know, so we're fucking leaving. And it was just like an extra like spiritual kick in the pants. It's like, this is the direction I'm telling you to go. Like, this is the right move for you. Move your ass over here. And like every single time. And so you could call that, maybe people just don't describe it in those ways, when people will see it and they'll see things as coincidence when I don't.
Yeah, but that's not,
you know,
a
like
ghost
when
encounter.
Something good that happens.
Yeah, that's just
no, it's not a ghost encounter. But what are you calling a ghost?
Influence.
Like, because if you're talking about an angel, are you talking about a ghost? Like, I'm kind of mixing the whole paranormal, like, because people do, I guess, maybe have interesting experiences with ghosts, where like your grandma, or your mom with her grandpa. You know, they'll have like just kind of a neutral experience where there's grandpa smoking a cigarette,
right. Yeah, neutral or negative.
I don't call that.
I wouldn't classify what you're saying like what I'm getting at, because like I've lived, you know, I think probably a lot of us who listen to these type of shows, like we live our life but very synchronously, I guess.
Yeah,
you could say.
I would describe it as the same thing almost. I think that well, at least for me, I literally am speaking to someone. I'm talking to the Holy Spirit. I think I get direct connections and like communication sometimes. Like God will tell me to do something.
But the Holy Spirit isn't a human, formerly human ghost. You know what I'm saying? That's a whole other thing.
He's dead Jesus.
Not really.
He's Jesus' ghost. I don't know. So as far as demonic things go,
well, you're talking about like negative experiences.
Well, I'm just wondering,
because I know you mentioned like an exorcism before.
Ghost experiences seem to be like frightening in connotation.
Yeah, ghosts and poltergeists and possessions and
part of that I actually do.
But what if they're just trying to get your attention? Like they're moving the chairs because they're like, "Hey, I need your help," and we're just getting freaked out.
How about you fold the laundry?
Like,
that might get my attention better.
Yeah,
I see like the laundry folding itself and putting itself away.
Yeah, I want a nanny ghost.
What? This ghost is all right.
I want a fucking nanny ghost. That's what I want. I mean, where's my fucking nanny ghost?
I don't know if I can help out at all with my particular take on this, and I think it's connected to karma. So, as an example. And these are just ideas, you could say, but they might resonate with some of you, or they might not. So, for instance, for every bad feeling that we give somebody in our life through any action or decision or anything we do, we will get to feel it ourselves. Okay, so however you make somebody feel, you will experience that feeling yourself. Either tomorrow, the next day, end of life, but you will get that feeling. So this is why you should do unto others as you would want done to yourself. But what I think can happen is maybe there's almost like a glitch in that karmic retribution, where you actually take on somebody else's karma through some kind of entity or spirit. Now, they may be deceased people, or there might just be some kind of thought form or some negative energy that kind of clusters or concentrates or crystallizes, and then it becomes attached somehow. Now, whether it becomes attached because you've opened some kind of portal in your kind of atmosphere or your kind of spiritual membrane, or however you want to describe it, but somehow it gets in, it gets attached, and maybe it's going along for the ride. Why? Probably because it's got nothing better to do. maybe it's some kind of energy that's seeking some kind of satisfaction from this realm that it's not getting from whatever realm it came from. So I think there's a lot of things. In fact, I think it's almost everything. I think anything is possible once you go outside of this realm.
This sounds a lot like Dianetics and Thetans.
Well, I think
that's an interpretation, yeah.
I was thinking when it comes to like kind of like poltergeists or like real like people have like real shitty like ongoing maybe situations, or even with like people like exorcisms. You know, the best way I could probably describe it, I'm just going to attribute it to the Goetia. And that would be like, I also do believe that like that is, as you know, Crowley did say at one point that it was all in the head, and then he kind of changed his opinion. I know some people might, you know, go by that. I think it's actually both. That's just my opinion. I think it is in your head and then in a spiritual sense in a way. I think sometimes when these people are having like horrible effects, it is almost as if like they had neither picked up like a radio signal from one of those 72 demons that are in your head, or like you got stuck inside that part of your brain and it's ruling you, controlling you, and you build up with so much of that energy that you just end up projecting it out into your life. And if you keep doing it over and over and over again, that could even be why the events get worse, and worse. But I do think, believe it or not, it is almost as if you tapping into the frequency and just filling yourself with it and pushing it out into your own existence. You know, and then at that point you have to question, what is it really that's happening and what are you picking up? You know, is that a negative vibration that you're just now reflecting into this reality in some way?
This fits into what Nate was saying with the egregores, and I think maybe what Lee, I'm gonna horribly paraphrase what I think I heard from you, Lee, so you can correct me, but almost that there's like patterns or archetypes that things can kind of like fit in and out of. And if you look at it like that, it's almost like there's always a play that's being cast, and there's way more parts than there are people for. So it's like each of us, we're cast into the roles that we're currently playing, but then there's all these other roles that are like you could just like fit into, you know, and people can jump into it. So for you, you might be talking about someone that gets into like a certain frame of mind. Maybe there's, you know, you call it 72 demons. I think that in a more logical sense, maybe those 72 demons are just 72 very specific archetypes that people find themselves getting stuck into.
They're aspects of the mind. That's what I was trying to get at.
But if you were to take it, let's say that's like the internal biological sort of like material organic version of it, but there might be, if there is like an external version, it's almost like these little like subway tunnels or little tracks that you can just like pop into. Those are kind of like the roles that you get cast to play.
It's as if you had a radio tuner and you were just like, oh, let me flip through these stations, I'm going to stop at this one.
Well, and imagine that it's one of those stations that it gets broadcast and then it just lasts forever. So even if, you know, 1,000 years from now, someone could kind of tune into it the same way that these roles or these archetypes or these 72 demons are just like always in existence. And it's just a matter of that you might gravitate towards it. And if you just lock into it, it's almost like, are you locking into it or is it locking into you? It's kind of the same difference, I think.
Well, that kind of goes back to what you guys were talking about with the equipment, right? Like, is it the actual equipment picking up on what's there, or is the equipment affecting like is it attracting more? You know what I'm saying? Like it's the same thing. Like us, we are like walking like transmitters and receivers at the same time. So like depending what's in our head, are we attracting a certain, you know, spirit, a geist from the zeitgeist? You know what I mean? Like are we attracting that to our receiver, and are we also transmitting something? And it's like a communication back and forth. It's not just like one way.
Yeah. Like before when I was talking about the equipment, I thought about it afterwards. I don't know if this will make it easier to understand, but like what I was even saying, like at the right place, could you almost have like an area where there's like dark matter, as crazy as that sounds, that you can feed to create something? So with your blasting waves going towards dark matter, could that actually help feed and create an effect? You know, I know that sounds crazy and like spacey shit, but I do question that.
I don't think it sounds crazy at all. I think that there are fields of potential and possibilities, and you can disrupt that, or you can actually create thought forms in it that will come right back at you. But just to extend on what we was already talking about, I think we're also dealing with things of a kind of egoism or ego nature, personality and identity. So, for instance, some of these, you could call them maybe lost spirits. Maybe they're lacking or they've forgotten who they are and what their purpose is. So, for instance, I've been involved with certain types of exorcisms. It's very, very straightforward. You simply ask the question, who are you? Who are you? Who are you? And you drive that, and you drive that home to the spirit, so that the spirit has to ask the question, who am I? And at that moment, when they ask themselves that question, they kind of wake up or remember something, and it can send them on their way or send them away. It's kind of like, you could say they're kind of lost in some kind of dream world. So when we go to sleep at night, we dream. You might have a dream where you're wandering around a shopping center or a hotel or some complex, but you're not self-aware, you're just wandering around. But something will trigger something in you to wake up, or to have some kind of lucid awakening, to realize you're in a dream and then you wake up. But without something reminding you that you're in a dream, you just continue to dream, wandering around, lost. And I think you could draw a correlation with the spirit world when it does penetrate into this particular dimension.
That's wild, because I've even said before, and I think I might have even said it to you once, Lee. There's a lot of, almost every time that I've noticed, when I do have whenever I've had magical experiences, and I was, an experience that I did not think was here, whenever it goes to end, it's almost like the same thing. Once I start questioning the situation and start questioning what I am, the situation ends, the experience ends. It's almost like when I start becoming aware of self and I have pulled myself away from what I once was now, you're almost like, okay, well, you kind of ruined it and now it's over. So even what you were saying right there, even from my experience, I have been able to, I think, go places that's not here. And what ruins it is the identity, worrying about self.
Yeah.
You guys ever do reality checks for lucid dreaming, or know what a reality check is?
No.
Yeah.
So I know Lee, of course. Yeah. Another really easy one. I got this cup right here. Right. This is a good example of one. But throughout the day when I'm working, or just if I've got a cup near me, every once in a while you reach out, but you imagine that my hand's gonna go all the way through the cup. I'm not even gonna be able to pick it up. It's just gonna be like a ghost cup. And of course, 99% of the time, you go to do that, you don't want to knock it over, right? So you think that your hand's going to go through it, but as soon as you actually touch it and feel it and see that it's about to tip over, you grab it, and that's a reality check. Another thing too is you can look at something that's got words. If you got a poster, you look at it and you read it, look away, and then look at it again to see if it says the same thing. And you just train yourself to do this. Maybe every couple hours, maybe every hour, maybe every 15 minutes, you got a little alarm that goes off. But the trick is that then when you find yourself in a dream state and you're dreaming, you're going to go to get that cup and your hand is going to go through it. And then at that point, you train yourself to not start thinking, oh, I'm a person and I'm in a dream and this is fake. You just go with it. You just say, oh, my hand went through the cup. It didn't pass the reality check. Therefore, I'm not currently in reality, but let me just keep kind of pushing through it. And that's sort of like an exercise to get better into lucid dreaming and not to wake yourself up from it.
Yeah.
It reminds me of Inception.
Well, yeah, a lot of people say that the Matrix, the movie The Matrix is the ultimate kind of esoteric, occulted, whatever movie. I actually think Inception is way better
with the tokens, right?
Yeah.
No, I thought
Inception.
I think Inception is very, very occulted. I think it shows a lot of different techniques and stuff, small little things. I don't think people would pick up. That's what people do actually in their fucking houses, fucking around with this shit.
it visually represents the concept of embedding in NLP pretty well too, where you tell like a story within a story within a story, so that like that most inner one has the most impact, and it like goes onto like a subconscious level, and then you kind of like wrap everything up around it, and it's almost like, you know, burying something down deep and putting lots of layers of the earth on top of it.
Yeah.
All right, I think we might just wrap it up here too, if you guys, if you all don't mind. It is getting a little bit late. I thank you all for coming on. I thought that was an amazing, interesting talk. You know, everybody, I think, all had great stuff to add, and it was just, I like having talks like this where everybody just gets to put in like their own ideas, and we just bounce it around. Because, like I said before, do we all really know what the fuck, what the fuck this shit is? So I'll let you guys all plug your shows. I'll let Teresa, you go first. You can let everybody know, where they can find your stuff again.
Sure. Well, thank you for this, guys. It was very interesting.
Oh, hell yeah.
And I just wanted to say one thing that I thought at the very beginning, and I wrote it down. Because what Lee was saying, how, he thinks that the spiritual realm is like all around us, and that we are surrounded by entities or whatever it is, at all times. It made me think of this thing that the Saint Padre Pio had said, where he said, like, if we could physically see all the demons or entities that surround us, and if you were to make them as small as a grain of sand, they would blot out the sun. That's how many there are. He's like, they way outnumber the number of people on Earth. Just something to think about.
Nice.
And on that note, anyways, but yeah, thank you for having me. And you can check out the Spiritual Gangsters. It's great chats, very interesting guests. But yeah, that's on all the podcast platforms, and I'm mostly on Instagram if anyone wants to bother me there.
Awesome. And I have your link tree in the show notes as well. And Lee, would you like to plug your show and let everybody know again where they can find your stuff?
Sure. Yeah, the best way is innerguardians.com. I've got a website, and there's a contact form there. So if you want to contact me for any reason, if you want me to be on a podcast or talk or anything like that, then contact me there. I've got the YouTube channel, Inner Guardians. So check that out. Thank you.
Awesome. No, thank you very much for coming on. I appreciate your point of view on things. And I guess Nate and then Thomas, you guys can go.
Nate.
Oh, I got first.
All right, man. Yeah. Am I?
Right at the end. Right at the end.
Oh, go ahead.
Thomas, you want to go first? Maybe he'll catch up.
I'll go. So I'll shout out Reality Czars. That's Nate and I's show. I co-host with him. He's the circus leader. And I also run occultbookclub.com with Juan from the One on One podcast. We cover all sorts of old books from the 1800s and earlier. I got paranoidamerican.com is where you can find my comics. I got mkultracomic.com, nasacomic.com. That's my comic book about Stanley Kubrick directing the moon landings. And then hit me on social media at Paranoid American on Instagram. And then also, I think I'm still going to start meeting people at the docks on Wednesdays at 8 o'clock. So if anyone wants to talk about the real shit, meet us at the docks, 8 o'clock Wednesdays.
Nice. Very nice.
Dick in hand. Be ready.
Wow.
That's only for the third degree and up, bro. Come on.
Oh, shit. Wow.
Follow us on Rockfin. Check out our documentaries. What else do we have to promote, Thomas? I don't know. Join our Telegram channel. Share some spicy memes. We're on Instagram. I like to give out my email address so anybody can hit me up. Weirdos. I get all kinds of weird emails, and I love them. I read every single one. So realityzars@gmail.com. Hit me up. If you guys want to collaborate, if you guys have questions, comments, you want to tell me I'm a fucking retard, that's fine. So hit me up.
Awesome. I'll actually get some of those links from you if you don't mind after the show. I think all I did was actually, because it was convenient, I actually just threw up your alt media link because that has like everything in there. Yeah. But if you want to send me any other extra links, I can throw that in as well. I had a wonderful time tonight, everybody. I thought that was a really interesting and, it was fun and deep at times. It was was a pretty good talk for a late Friday night. I think
What's better than staying up late and telling ghost stories, man?
Yeah, right, right. Telling ghost stories and then like theorizing on like creation, dark matter, electricity, all that fucking crazy stuff. That was awesome stuff, man. And thank you to everybody who was in the chat. I will admit, at one point, probably halfway through the show, I turned it off on my end because I was trying to pay attention. I'll lose it sometimes in the chat. So I do appreciate everybody coming in. It does say that there's like about 40 messages that I haven't looked at yet. So obviously everybody was chatting it up. I really appreciate that. That's why I normally go live. And yeah, that is the end of another NY Patriot show. And until the next one, everybody be well. Later.